Hi, everyone. My name is Sonika Pilli, the founder of MedTeens, an initiative to bridge the gap between aspiring healthcare leaders and those who've already paved the way by bringing medical professionals from diverse backgrounds together to converse, educate, and inspire my generation of aspiring healthcare leaders. Today, we have Ms. Nefetari Mells, and we're going to be starting the podcast. Miss Mallows, can you share your journey into medical administration and what inspired you to work for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs?
Okay, well, let me begin by saying all of my thoughts are of my own. And what started me in medical administration was that I actually started out as a medical social worker, working in long-term care, which is nursing homes, working for county health departments, working in hospitals, in cardiac ICU, pediatrics, the emergency room, and telemetry units, and hospice as well. And I also did some traveling social work. And there were things that I noticed that could be better in patient care or policies or procedures. And I noticed it was those that made the decisions were in administration, business, executive leadership. And so, even though I, as a social worker, could have a great idea with proven metrics to back it up, sometimes it fell on deaf ears because I was not in administration. So, I wanted to steer my focus towards administration so I could be able to have an ear and a seat at the table to where people would listen.
Amazing. So, what are some of the responsibilities that you hold, and what's your role as a health system specialist?
Okay. Well, right now I'm actually in a fellowship that allows me to work with executive leadership and service chiefs at the hospital and go through training and different things like that. And with this fellowship, I'm actually able to get exposure to a lot of other positions. In my first rotation that I did as a health system specialist, working with the nursing director, that role allowed me to work with different specialties within healthcare. So that's respiratory, that's sterile processing, nursing, social work, as well as working with other scopes of practice. So that day to day looked like moderating meetings, being the pinpoint connection to surveys and audits from different organizations coming in to the review the facility. That meant the executive leader that I was paired with being her backbone and creating templates and action trackers that overall ran the progress of the department, checks and balancing systems, organizing, implementing charters, just a plethora of things. And that's pretty much the role of any health system specialist, is just to be that bridge between problem and solution and know who those key stakeholders are in that chosen problem or process that you're improving, and to make sure everyone communicates, contributes, and we get to our aim goal.
Sounds good. Can you take us back and tell us a little bit more about your, personal journey and just like where you studied and everything? That's okay.
Okay, it was a long one. I actually started off in nursing school because that's what I saw around me. My great aunt is a nurse practitioner. Um, one of my grandparents is a retired LPN. I have RNs in my family. My mother, who is now deceased, she was an LPN studying to be an RN. So nursing was all that I knew growing up. Um, and as a woman of color, I'm very well aware of places in the past, growing up where we were told nursing, doctor, lawyer, and that's really much all we knew. And I was actually raised by my father, who's a Marine, as a single parent. And getting into nursing school, it felt like I was supposed to be doing something different. And so I actually spent a few years after completing all of my prereqs trying to get into a school. So it was like 2 years of applying to different programs, and I did all the requirements for this program, but I didn't get in. Then I went to this program and I didn't pass the nursing entrance test by 3 points. Then I took it again and I didn't get in. I failed it by 2 points. Then you couldn't get into the school anymore. And then I went to this other school trying to do the requirements that they had. And with nursing, that's why you find a lot of nurses going to a different types of schools, because by the time you get done with the prereqs for this program, they could change at any moment and say, and what actually happened to me is that I completed all the requirements for one school, and I went to the nursing informational session that was required to finally turn the application, and they told me, oh, well, if you didn't go to the nursing informational session that was offered 2 weeks ago, we're not accepting any new candidates now because we're revamping our program with the new test. And I'm like, but I have all the requirements. Well, what is the test? So maybe I can take it at another school so you can have it in a week. And they didn't know what the new test was going to be at the time. So the requirements, that I had been trying to get for a year, were completely demolished. And I finally got in at a school at the University of South Alabama and got into nursing. And nursing is one of those things where you need a support system. And at that time, I had some family dynamics where I didn't have a support system, and it was just me. And I was also working full time at night to support myself. And nursing, again, is one of those things where you need a support system and you virtually cannot even work. And so I got into the program. And I also had a freshman roommate at the time that partied a lot. And so I was only working off of 2 hours of sleep a day. And I just could not do it. And my heart, everything that I do has always been at the core of helping people. And so when I figured out that nursing was not for me, I'm like, what else can I do with the experience that I have? And that is when I decided to go into social work. And I graduated my bachelor's degree at the University of South Alabama.
That must be so, so hard to like juggle, trying to, fend for yourself and then also just like, keeping yourself afloat and then working with something as rigorous as nursing school. That's so inspiring.
Thank
On to
you.
the next question. What are like some of the challenges and like rewards that you've experienced while working in like medical administration, particularly like within the Veterans Affairs system?
Well, my parents are veterans. My dad's a Marine. My mom's a Army. My stepmom's an Army vet, and I was also married to a Marine. And the sacrifices that those veterans have given, some with their lives, it's something that you have to keep at heart, whether it's federal, VA, or if it's any hospital or in healthcare, period, CNAs, surgical techs, radiologists. What are we here for? We're here to serve our patients. And if you ever lose sight of that, you don't need to be in the field anymore. So every day that I show up, I have to be cognizant of my facial expressions, my tones, how fast I'm walking, my surroundings, the things that I say, because some people have PTSD, whether they're veterans or regular staff. So I have to be self-aware. And so some of the positive effects and benefits of my job is that I get to work with people that I love. I get to hear their stories. I get to relate those things to find out how can we better serve you. I'll be participating in a study soon for patient satisfaction. I'm looking forward to that. Um, some of the negative aspects of working in the federal government, what's going on now today, which I really can't speak on. And if anyone wants to know something more about it, will have to talk to public affairs at their local VA. But in unsure times, what I can fall back on is that I know myself, I have integrity, and I know my value and my worth. So no matter what goes on, in society, in the news, I know that.
Yeah. So you've onboarded medical students. What are like some of the biggest challenges that they face when transitioning into like clinical environments? Yeah.
Well, because of COVID, a lot of students have had to learn online um, during that time. Some need to work on their social interaction skills. And when you're a student doctor, you're still in a learning environment. So some of the things that I noticed were just working on communication skills, having etiquette in your email, in your tone, on the phone, and in person, and realize that there are processes to everything that you do. And when you call someone up to say, where's my access? Where's my card? What's taking so long? Realize there's a checks and balances, especially working in the government. There's a checks and balances for everything you do. So it might not be that person that's your coordinator or a person that you are emailed to contact. They could be waiting on checks and balances from five or six other different departments. So just be mindful of checks and balances, be patient, and have social etiquette skills. Um, yeah, for the most part, and lean on your cohort of other students that you're working with as a support system. And there might be some times where you might be feeling defeated, but just look within yourself and focus on your goals and remind yourself of your goals every single day. Every day you don't feel like studying, or every day um, you lose sight of that. You have to just draw back into yourself. And if you don't have a support system, you have to encourage yourself and remind yourself every single day of, what am I here for? What is the goal? What is the dream? And focus on that.
It's so truly inspiring that you like are so passionate about what you do, and they definitely teach us that in the CCMA course that I'm doing in my school. We're like certified to become medical assistants by the end of the course, and we definitely are like taught to do like taught these like basic etiquette rules and everything. It's I feel like that's communications where a lot of students struggle with because honestly, it's kind of hard to be like socially I don't know what you say, but like socially, like not awkward when you're trying to get things done. But it definitely comes with practice, I would say. But yeah, definitely something that we have to learn. Yeah, and I just love that you are so passionate with what you're doing. It's so inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, what does the VA support and how does the VA support and prepare medical students for like their roles in patient care?
Well, usually I'll start before even like residency. I'll start before then. There are so many hospitals and programs and fellowships and paid internships and paid apprenticeships for those in the medical field. You just really have to do your research on, what the guidelines are. Even starting in middle school, I would say, look into science camps, look into weekday programs. In the summer times, there's lots of camps. I've seen some students volunteer where you want to go, whether that's at a conference or that's at a hospital. There's volunteer opportunities. And even if there is not one that you can't find where there's a formal volunteer program, if you're interested in something, call that coordinator up and say, hey, I'm interested in this. Can I either volunteer? And if they are not accepting volunteers, see if you can get pinpointed with someone that's working in that arena to tell you about it, to see how they got where they were. There is different things that you can do. As far as mentorship and sponsorship, which I found out are two different things. A mentor is someone that you can call up or you meet with routinely to inspire you, encourage you. But then there's also something called a sponsor, where they are at where you want to be and they strategically place you in rooms that would be great for your professional growth. And if you like, I went through a period in my social work career where I'm like, okay, I'm president of the social work student organization. I'm volunteering here, I'm volunteering there, I'm working at night. I'm doing all these things. No one notices. I'm doing undergraduate research. Nobody cares. And I had asked like about 17 people, can you please mentor me? Even after I graduated, can you please mentor me? And it made me feel bad for a while because I felt like, where's my gap? Where's my person professionally to encourage me? And it wasn't until I saw a Instagram reel from John Henry. He's a venture capitalist. I had asked him on one of his reels because he said a mentor was the gap that filled in, from him getting funded. And I asked the question, okay, what if you can't find a mentor? You've asked, you put yourself out there, you've done this, you've done that. And he told me the mentor will show up when they need to. You just have to do the work. And so that's what happened to me. When I stopped worrying about a mentor, one did show up in the social work arena, a nurse practitioner. She actually wanted me to spearhead one of her companies uh, for social work and geriatric population. But I was done with social work by then. I was moving into admin, but I still formed that network with her, introduced her to other social workers and others in the field. So she was still able to get that help that she needed. So if you cannot find a mentor, um, just follow someone. Pick that person that you admire, see where they went to school, see what programs that they did into. Reach out to them. And you can even email or, follow them on LinkedIn or Instagram and see what they do. What books do they read? What podcasts do they listen to? And find yourself. And this is another thing that I was doing when I was younger that I didn't know was a thing, and I actually heard Warren Buffett say that that's what he did, that he found people that inspired him and he found out what books that they read and what characteristics that they had that he liked, and he emulated them and added them to his persona.
On that note, what are like some of the things that like high schoolers could do to increase their network and just like find more of these like special opportunities? Because yes, like a lot of people actually volunteer now, and like I feel like everyone does all of these things, and it's so hard to stand out now. What are some of the things that you really think that could push the edge on that, like make you more special?
Well, there's always going to be someone smarter. There's always going to be someone with a more notoriety and network. And the most smartest person sometimes is not the person that's making the most noise. You have to develop your skill set and pinpoint it to where you want to go. So, yes, still volunteer, but look at things that might be outside of your scope that can put you in the room. So, you might be interested in health, but behind health and helping the patient is also business. So you might want to go to this health fest, but there might be a business conference that's in town. And I've found working with doctors that a lot of business people, they meet a lot of business people. They run businesses and they might be outside of the medical field. So you might want to go towards medicine, but you might need to look at environmental. You might need to look at business. You might need to look at um, strategic design, which is a mix between education and a systems approach and change management. Quality, you might need to look at how Amazon works. So I would say try to venture outside a little bit of your scope, and you would be surprised at what that network brings you.
Sounds good. So if you've researched a pipeline study for future medical students, can you share some like key findings or insights that you found? Yeah.
Sure. When I was at the University of South Alabama, I did research, undergraduate research for a pipeline program. And it was a pipeline program geared towards high school, early high school students that were interested in the medical field. They had them take courses, they had field trips, they had speakers, they learned about informatics and statistics and different things that make that you might have to do when you get into medical school one day. And so my job was to research and call these students up to see were they successful or not. And about 75% of the cohort, or the different type, it was like 4 years that I was studying, but 75% of the students were still interested in the medical field and along that path. And some of the key things that I did see and the patterns of success were family support, as well as having a hobby, somewhere to pinpoint what you're going to do with your stress or in your free time outside of medicine. And it doesn't mean that because you might not have family support or a friend to go to in those hard times that you won't be successful. That just means you need to encourage, you would have to be your own self advocate and your own support. And there's things called outliers that go against the grain, go against what these studies and bias, have shown us at times. So there's no such thing as, and I wouldn't put yourself in a box from whatever some study says that, well, according to this, people from your background, people that look like you, people that went to a community college, or people that live in this city or this hood don't make it. Because there's always outliers, and you can choose to be that outlier. Just stand true to yourself and know what your goal and your aim is and stick to it.
As someone who's been this outlier and your own support for what you've achieved so far, what are like some personal like skills or qualities that like exist within like an individual that you think are like essential for success in the medical field?
Self-awareness and emotional maturity. You have to know what your triggers are. You have to know what your bias are. You have to know, what makes you upset, what makes you sad. And you also have to develop that grit and grind of, yes, an obstacle has come up, um, a barrier has come up, but how do I work around that? So I've had to learn from mistakes. I've had to learn just because there's a no right now doesn't mean that the yes is not along the line. And that just takes determination and perseverance within yourself to say that no matter what, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. No matter, what door is slammed in my face, there's a window somewhere. And if that window doesn't come, I'm going to build my own house.
Now that you say it, I definitely think that spirit is super important for people that are like embarking on um, like such a rigorous process, lengthy process of getting into medical schools and anything like within the field. Definitely see how that's like hard and how you should be, have some thick skin to withstand that. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So what are some misconceptions that you see working in healthcare administration that you would like to clear up for aspiring healthcare students?
That the people at the top do not care. They actually do care. And with this program that I'm in right now, I've gotten to see the patterns, the process, the procedures, the meetings, get a backstage preview how things work in executive leadership. And so, um, don't think that people up here that make the decisions are untouchable. Your job is to be ready for that when that time comes, that if they happen to so cross you in the hallway, you got your elevator pitch down, and that you have done the research beforehand, that you come with solutions and not complaints, and not a problem without a solution. So your job is to be prepared, do the research beforehand, and if you do have an issue with something, your first time addressing a problem should not be in a public format. Like if you have an issue with a person or a process or a system, your first time bringing that to light should not be in a public format where there's a room with 100 people in there. You have to try to problem solve right where you are first so you can make sure that you did your checks and balances and what you can do in your space. Then a supervisor, then a chief or director. You just work your way up. And then just know the key players in that policy and procedure. But when it comes to the people at Pi, they do want to know what frontline staff and simpler skilled staff bring to the table, because you're the one doing the job every single day. And so there are people that value your skill set and don't ever think that you have nothing to offer or no one wants to hear it just because you just do this or you just do that or you have simpler or a smaller education. You're valuable.
I think one of the biggest examples is that like he said that people like in power, sorry, not in power, but like just big people that don't care actually do care. I think that's like really evident right now because you're doing this like episode with me today. So I think that shows just about like how much you actually care about, inspiring people like me who are just trying to learn from people like you. And then also on that note, what are like you did mention like you did stress like on good communication skills and just having like confidence and stuff. Have you like experienced any like tough situations that you've had to use good communication skills to get out of like disagreements? Can you give us some examples about that? Yeah.
Every single day, every single day. Um, as a social worker and a previous supervisor, running a department with 60 people in it and having to communicate with other directors, there's not going to be there. I mean, everyone is not going to agree with you or see it your way. So your job is to have emotional maturity and realize that, and also realize that people's different backgrounds determine how they speak to you, their tone, how they think of you, and their different biases, that can affect how they communicate with you. So your job is just to be self-aware and understand that not everybody is going to see it your way. And your job is not to argue. Your job is to present the facts outside of your emotions, and how you communicate that does matter. Especially being a woman and a woman of color, there's a stereotype of angry Black woman. Um, and me knowing that I am not that, I have to be aware of the stereotypes and the biases. But the one thing that I do stress is that I remain authentically myself. And when you are authentically yourself, it doesn't matter who you're in front of, president, CEO, doctor, provider, um, millionaire. When you remain yourself, your authentic self, it does not matter where you are. You don't have to worry about changing who you are to fit the mold and to fit the grind. Because when you spend so much time and energy being something that's not of yourself, you have to worry about, well, who's behind me? Did that person hear that? You know, but when you stay to yourself and authentically genuine being and who you are purposed to be, you can walk into any room and be comfortable. And that's the space that I'm at now, to where it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you have a doctorate degree. I'm valuable too.
What are some of the things that excite you about the future of healthcare and the next generation of medical professionals?
For the young people, I'm very excited to see what you will do. You have technology that I did not have growing up. I can remember when Facebook came out, when you had to have a college email to get in it. And with AI and the new innovations that will develop, I'm very interested to see how the future doctors or future nurses or scientists, engineers, even techs, um, there's no limit to your imagination and what you will do. So I'm very excited to see the innovation behind that. And I would say anyone, no matter what direction you want to go, learn about trademarks, copyrights, business, contracts. So while you're in your scope of practice, if you see something that can change the world, patent it, trademark it, copyright it, so no one can steal your idea. Because innovation and intellectual property is something no one can take from you. The only way they can take it from you is if you broadcast it without copyright or patent it or trademarking it. So I would say I'm very excited to see the innovation that comes now that we have AI.
Also with like your demeanor and everything, you seem super duper confident and I love that about you. Was there like an aha moment that you ever had that like, inspired this like change or anything? Was there like, were you always this way? Were you always like, this is inspiring? You know, tell us more.
No, thank you so much. I was on the inside, but nobody could see it because I've always been quiet and observant. Um, but there was a time where I felt like someone, because I actually grew up in the inner city of Chicago. I went to Kettering High School, a school that's now closed down. And in my senior year, I had a chance to take part of a program called the Detroit Manufacturing Partnership. And it was a partnership between Detroit Public Schools and the UAW General Motors. And it was inner city kids from all different types of school in Detroit. We got leadership skills and we got paired with an engineer to learn about production, manufacturing, and innovation. And we also had to do a project and present. And there was the director of the program. She actually graduated from the same high school that I did. And she let me know, hey, Nefetari, just because you went to this school, it does not mean you cannot make it. It does not mean you won't be a professional. Just keep going and you can do it. And that it made a difference for me because I did feel some of that inner city girl on me, like, how can I ever do this? How can I, ever get this way when, as a single parent, my father's working in the day and it's just me and my brother at night, and we don't have everything that we need. Um, so yeah.
Lovely. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self if you had to just look back and, analyze your journey? Is there like anything that you would change? I don't like to say like regret, but like, is there anything that you wish you'd done differently?
Yes, I would have told myself to dream very, very big and also do the work that it takes. Be prepared to do the work that it takes to go along with that dream and keep that big dream in your heart because there are some things that you can't share with everybody. Not everybody, the dream that the creator gives you, not everybody can handle that. Not everybody can even dream the dream because it was given to you. And it's not meant for everybody to hear because some people, if they have a small mindset, they'll try to talk you out of your dream or they'll try to, question who are you to dream that big? There's no one like you over there. So why even try? So I would keep that dream to myself. Um, and only share with those I know would be supportive. But keep dream very, very bigly and prepare yourself for the work that it's going to take and the discipline that it's going to take and the decisions that you have to make for your future to get there. When I was in high school, my dad told me, he was like, okay, you're starting high school now. You'll get a car at 16, but you have to stay on the honor roll until you turn 16 in order for you to get your car. And I thought about that every single day. I went to school like I have to get my car at 16. I got to get out of here. I got to do what I need to do. So every single day I thought about my goal. So, but that one thing that I would say to my younger self would be to dream big.
That's so like I feel like, energized, because like your words like, those are really impactful. Yeah. Thank you so much for, just that you agreed to do this podcast with me just shows how much you're passionate about, motivating my generation. And yeah, thank you so much. Is there anything
You're
else you need?
welcome. And if there's anything else you need, let me know.
Thank you so much. So guys, that will be it for today. Thank you for joining and we'll see you next time. Bye.